Coming up on the Geo Habari podcast.
We don't go for perfection in the first iteration. So we have a mantra that you build fast, fail fast, learn, and then iterate. Because you can't get real value for a business from a pure tracking system. It has to be integrated. For example, we track the bikes. If we track the location of the bikes alone, that won't give us meaningful information. But we have to combine the system with data from like batteries, from maybe driver apps, so that we know what the driver is doing, where they were going, maybe if they were carrying a parcel or a passenger. That combination or that blend can give us now valuable information.
We're here to amplify African tech stories and elevate technical brilliance. This is the Geo Habari podcast with Yariwo Kitio. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Geo Habari podcast. This is the Tech Stacks and Architectures series. We have intentionally curated this series to take us on a learning journey to understand the individual building blocks of powerful tech stacks that make geospatial technology tick. From programming languages, databases, softwares, cloud infrastructure, and so much more, we feature individuals sitting at the very core of developing these systems end to end. Welcome to the Tech Stack series. Hi guys, this is episode 3 of the Tech Stack series. If you're listening to this series for the first time, welcome on board. We've been running this series for the past 1 month. We intend to close it this month, at the end of this month. So thank you so much for walking this journey with us. It's been absolutely incredible. I have learned so much, and I hope you have as well. Maybe for the guys who are joining in for the first time, we had episode 1, which was focused on data pipelines. Shout out to Alan for saying yes to coming to the pod and recording that very insightful episode. Episode 2 was on front-end development with Valentine. Again, shout out to you, Valentine, for coming to the pod and sharing your learning journey in front-end development. That was very insightful. And this is episode 3 of the Tech Stack series. Allow me to welcome our guest for today. Our guest is Amos Njenga. Amos works as a lead software engineer at Greenwheels Limited. Here's why I reached out to Amos. What Amos does is he builds systems and softwares for e-mobility. And so this includes fleet management, logistics support, tracking and monitoring of vehicles, battery charging infrastructure. Smart tracking is what he does, and integration with business systems to deliver value. And I thought, I want to have that conversation as well with Amos and have him join the Tech Stack series. And so that's what today's episode is about. Maybe just a quick heads up before we dive in. You might notice a few sound glitches in today's episode. The team and I sincerely apologize for that. We had unexpected hiccups during the recording, but the conversation was too good not to share. Please bear with us as we figure out how to best deliver the best sound quality and have a better listening experience for you. But thanks for sticking with us, and I hope you enjoy the insights that we'll share today. And so without further ado, allow me to welcome Amos. Hi, Amos.
Hi, Kitio, and hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for saying yes to coming to the pod. And maybe before we start, maybe you can briefly introduce yourself, and then we can get into the conversation.
First of all, thank you for having me in this podcast. My name is Amos Njenga. I'm a geospatial engineer by profession, and I'm currently serving as the lead software engineer for Greenwheels Electric Mobility Solutions Limited. Outside work, I think I'm a big football fan, supporting Real Madrid.
Oh, that's such a fun fact about you. I didn't know that. So before we start the episode, I normally do like a quick fire for us to know guests better. And I like that you mentioned you're a football fan. So I have 3 random questions to just help us, know you better as we ease into the conversation. So the first one is, if you could instantly master one technical skill today, what would it be and why?
I think C# programming. I think it's a very robust programming environment with a lot of capabilities. I think that's what I'd want to master.
And then the second one is, if your code could talk, what would it say about you?
I think it would scream and whip me. Sometimes we write code just to deliver features, really without thinking about maybe code cleanliness and all that. And then maybe we refactor later. So I think it would scream.
And then the last one, what's one coding mistake you made earlier in your career or while delivering a project or a current task that you laugh about now?
I think naming of variables. There was a time I used to use my name like Amos 1, Amos 2, and then maybe you later think you've cleaned up, and then when you're going through the code in a code review, you find variables named after you. So I think that was a mistake I did earlier on, but I've learned.
Oh, those are such fun facts about you. And I like that you mentioned like already really exciting things on what the audience can start mastering, especially guys who are getting in on C sharp, because then that means that's something someone can start mastering if they're in school. Okay, so as we start this conversation, maybe for context, because the name of the series is Tech Stack. When you talk about electric mobility and what you currently do, what is electric mobility and the operations? And then now we get into the tech for us to sort of understand how we connect the technology to the operations.
Yeah. I think in a nutshell, electric mobility is the shift from use of combustion energy for mobility, that is vehicles and all that, and moving to more cleaner, more environment friendly, maybe engine power, so to say. Instead of petrol engines, we have engines that are running on electric power. So that's the whole shift in electric mobility. And I think in Kenya, the industry has been there for quite some time, but this is for the four-wheelers. But then for the two-wheelers, which is the border, I think now we are approaching the 3 to 4 years mark. And it's a really exciting field to be in right now, especially with the talk of climate change and all that, and maybe SDGs and all that. And I think for us, the first phase of the two-wheeler electric mobility was around building infrastructure, and that is to do with bike assembly, setting up battery charging infrastructure. And then I think now we are approaching a mature phase where now the industry is looking towards building a business case, a sustainable business case, maybe generating revenue and sustaining different operations. That's electric mobility in Kenya in a nutshell.
So now let's bring it home to what does a lead software engineer do in an electric mobility company?
Okay. Let me first of all paint a picture. Right now, the industry has different players coming in from different angles. So we have people who have specialized in assembly of the bikes. So we have different companies that create the different bikes that you see on the road. Then we have other companies coming in as what you are calling battery as a service system, where they manage batteries, the charging infrastructure, and all that. And then there's players like us, Greenwheels, coming in from a fleet management angle. So for us, we own the bike, and then we own the driver. Like we hire the driver, and then we provide the bike to different partners in other industries, such as logistics, maybe manufacturing, and all that. So for a company like ours, which is fleet management, the role of the lead engineer, software engineer, is to mostly develop systems that support fleet operations. By fleet operations, we mean bike maintenance, driver operations. This is onboarding of drivers, management of drivers, dispatch, and all that. And then we also build systems around monitoring the live location of the bikes or the assets, and also monitoring the battery network. So where the battery is at, the level of charge, the distribution, and all that. So a high level overview of the role is to create those systems, maintain them, and also help the business in innovating other products around the areas I've mentioned, which is fleet and driver operations.
Thanks, Amos, for the different scenarios you've given. That to reference, I think, one of your LinkedIn posts, which I thought was very informative. And you mentioned that when you're building systems, it's not about the technology stack doesn't come first. It's first the functionality. Does it work? And I think you mentioned something about before you actually get it right, there is messy sections you're going through before you actually perfect what's happening. Do you mind painting a picture, first of all, the challenges that are associated with bringing technology into operations? the messiness that comes around that for a start?
I think the messiness comes in one failing to understand user requirements and business requirements. Remember, it's a business, and different operations exist to first of all support like the overall business objective. So for tech, it's important that from the word go you understand what the business requires, and then sit down and discuss maybe like a roadmap of what they want, and discuss trade-offs, and maybe both in a short term and in a long term perspective. Then from a technology perspective, when you understand what the business requires, it's now up to you to sit down and look at the tools at your disposal, evaluate like their capabilities and their limitations, and then at that point is when we make a decision: do we go for like a custom solution, or do we go for an off-shelf? If you are to go for an off-shelf solution, is it easy to plug in into other systems that you have? What's the cost of maybe the initial cost, the cost of maintenance, the cost of maybe do you need extra resources or capacity, and then compare that against what the roadmap will be if you decided to build the system from scratch. And then at that point is when we decide on the tools, and then now you build, and then after you build, you have to engage regularly with different stakeholders to make sure that you are aligning or you are capturing what the business actually needs. And what I've really come to appreciate, maybe from the experience I have with our leadership team, is we don't go for perfection in the first iteration. So for us is to get right. This is what we need. We don't need it to be smart, but should actually work in the way that the business wants it to work. And then if we have captured that, we roll it out, and then now gather feedback and then improve on the product as we are fixing bugs, bringing in new features and all that. I think that's the most tricky part to get in a business. Sometimes business go for perfection from the word go, and then they fail to achieve the desired objective. So for us, we've accepted that it's messy. For you to get things right in tech, it's about iterations. So we have a mantra that you build fast, fail fast, learn, and then iterate.
And I like what you've mentioned on, the tools don't come fast. It's fast the users and what the business actually needs. And so in your scenario, what does a tech stack look like to sort of be able to achieve the goals that you need to achieve in that environment?
I think the definition of a tech stack will vary depending on maybe the company and different environments. But for us, we define a tech stack as layers of tools and maybe systems and processes that systematically build to maybe to achieve certain objectives or tasks. So with that definition, it could be one tool, or it could be multiple tools that have been integrated to achieve maybe like a workflow in driver operation. So that's the tech stack for us. And that's why I said that for us, necessarily doesn't mean we have to go for custom built tools. So it could be like a hybrid of the shelf tools, which we integrate through maybe APIs, and then custom tools that we've built to suit our own workflows, and then we integrate the systems together to come up with a tech stack that works for us.
It always feels like there's something not cracked when it comes to tracking and real-time tracking, when it comes to systems and solutions. And I think it would be interesting to get your perspective on what about tracking makes it such a complex or let me call it complex, because I think when you are with you in one of the companies, I think there was development of different systems and movement from one system to another in trying to figure out a system that actually works. And I'm curious to know what are those challenges or nuances we are yet to figure out as an industry when it comes to tracking.
I think an ideal system is one that captures all the data that or aspects of the business that you need. The suitability of the system is not defined by the infrastructure, but what the business needs to know from the assets. So if the tracking system delivers that, I think it becomes an ideal system. And I think when coming up or designing tracking systems, there's on one hand costs, and it's not necessarily monetary cost. It is even the cost of infrastructure, the volume of the data, and all that sits at one end, and then also so that brings in a layer of complexity. And then on the other hand is maybe the data part, and how you're going to analyze that data. So I think the reason why most companies don't get it is, first of all, they go for let's have the system. Once we have the data, we'll decide what to do. And I think for us, we took an approach of, even by the time we were setting up the devices, we actually knew the information that we wanted to extract from these systems. So other costs becomes are informed based on that decision, and then now it becomes easy for us to integrate with other systems, because you can't get real value for a business from a pure tracking system. It has to be integrated with other. For example, we track the bikes. If we track the location of the bikes alone, that won't give us meaningful information. But we have to like combine the system with data from like batteries, from maybe driver apps, so that we know what the driver is doing, where they were going, maybe if they were carrying a parcel or a passenger, and all that, so that that combination or that blend can give us now variable information. But if you go for a pure tracking system, I feel with the associated cost, you won't get it right.
So there needs to be integrations with other systems for you to actually get value out of that system, as opposed to just, oh, we are purely tracking. We also want to get a view of what your day-to-day looks like. What does your typical day look like for a lead software engineer now that we have a good understanding of the business, the operations, and some of the tooling that goes around that?
For the tools that we use on a day-to-day basis, first of all, we've built everything in the cloud space. So we use AWS, and then we have our database where most of the data sits, which is PostgreSQL. So, and we selected that for both non-spatial data and spatial data. And then now we've built our tech stack, the custom tech stack with Python and C Sharp and React and all those frameworks for the front end. For the back end, it's pure C Sharp and Python. We also use tools like Postman and GitHub, but that's mostly on the development side. On the business side, we have like off-the-shelf systems that we've integrated with custom systems. These are CRMs like Zoho. We have other data management systems like Airtable. So it's a mix of both custom and off the shelf. A typical day today, first of all, you monitor systems. You need to check so that you don't have a server that has failed and you're not aware. Though we've set up like notification systems, but it's good to like do a checkup on everything. And then after that, we sit down with management. This is to discuss like short-term goals and long-term goals, and then aligning on some of the tools and processes. Right now we are a small team, so we also sit down with other areas of operations. So we'll sit with a customer team, we'll sit with the bike technicians team, just to get a view of the challenges maybe they're experiencing with the current tools they have, and maybe what they would like to have. So we take that as user requirements, and then that is what we'll table with the management, and now like decide on priorities. What do we build? What do we leave behind maybe for later? What do we prioritize and all that? And then you have to dedicate like an hour or two for routine tasks, and then some for development.
When we're talking about like the different tech stacks and the different roles that exist within the ecosystem, are there roles that exist within that same ecosystem that you really depend on to sort of create this, to make these use cases come to life? Because I think when you're talking about like tech stacks, there's normally different roles that come with it. I'm curious, in your situation, you being the lead software engineer, what are the roles you closely work with to bring these use cases to life? The tracking, the fleet management, the driver support, and driver management. Are you able to mention some of the roles to just give the audience perspective, in the sense that the role does not exist in isolation, to sort of bring these scenarios to life?
Tech can't be of value in a business setup in isolation. So you have to collaborate with a lot of people. But if I can give an example of our own team, we have like pure software developers. We have like a specialist front-end developer. we have a backend developer, and then I, as the lead, do a mix of both front end and back end. And then I also now bring GIS expertise in the mix. And we also have like a tech manager who happens also to be our CEO. He's very experienced in matters of business and also tech. So he comes in as a tech manager and a product manager. So he is able to shape like the overall roadmap of the tech team. And with him, we're able to now, like from a better angle, discuss on priorities, what feature needs maybe to come first, what are nice to have and what can come later. So, but now outside the tech team, we also deal with, we have customer operations, we have people who deal directly with the drivers, so our customer representatives. So we work closely with them, because you can't build like a system for drivers without understanding like what's the process for them, from welcoming a new driver, registering them, and all that. And then we have the bike operations, maybe people or roles. We have like technicians who maintain the bikes, repair the bikes. You have to work with them, especially since an electric bike has quite complex components. We have like the controller, we have the trackers, we have other parts within the bike also that use software. So you have to work with them to understand how the bike system works, how you can integrate it into your enterprise system. Also work with people who are the hubs, who manage the battery swaps. So it's to understand the process, to understand when a rider comes in, what happens, what information they give, and then the data that's maybe captured at that stage. So there are a lot of roles that we interact with on a daily basis. And I think you need to come with a lot of humility to understand that you need each and every one of them for you to have an enterprise system that serves the business as a whole.
I'm curious, Amos, are there technical challenges especially that come with having such an enterprise system or such an enterprise setup? What would you say are the biggest technical challenges that brings in a complexity, especially when you're now integrating the GIS component and then you're also integrating the business data? For example, what you've mentioned, Zoho. Are there technical challenges around that we should be aware of for people who want to get into this space or someone who's in this space? What are the challenges that come with that, the technical challenges around that?
Yeah, I think when you're getting a system, there are systems that come with that you are able to easily plug into your current ecosystem, but there are systems that are quite difficult. You need a system, but when you look into maybe the way they've written their backend, the way their APIs are structured, it's really complex. So you have to really come out of your shell or think outside the box to figure out how you are going to integrate the two systems, and don't integrate for just that moment. You also look at how scalable it is, how robust it is. So I think those are some of the biggest challenges we've had. And then we've had like, you go for a system, and then later on you realize that this system has some limitations that you are not aware of initially. So you have to make a decision: do we scrap it off? Do we bring another system? Will we get a system that has exactly what we need, or do we build our own? So I think those are some of the toughest questions that we've had. And also, I think also the scale. Initially, when you are starting out, maybe you have a few bikes. It's easier to build a system for 100 bikes, but then the business around EVs are scaling quite fast. Yes, you had a perfect system at that point, but then later on there are a lot of bottlenecks. I think the technical challenges really come from a point of maybe not understanding short-term goals and long-term goals, and then maybe not getting what you want in the market, and maybe what you get does not fit your purpose in the long term. I think those are some of the biggest challenges that are available. And mind you, this is a new field. Yes, there are systems that exist that maybe are generic systems like for tracking, but then how do you fit in like the generic tracking into a EV use case where you need to capture things like battery discharge and charging rate? So those are the questions and the challenges that we deal with on a daily basis.
One of the challenges that I've seen in like tracking and the integration of GIS into the different systems is like the size of the data, in that the data grows so fast because it's data that's sort of streaming in, or it's live data that you're tracking for that system. For these challenges, like the data that's coming in, I don't know if that's something you guys have thought about, in the sense that how do you handle this huge data? How do you balance the two, where you need to store historical data, but the fleet is also growing really fast, and there's also, you need to grow your cloud infrastructure to keep this, to sort of maintain this bandwidth. What's the trade-off around that? How do you decide on that? Is that a conversion you've thought about when it comes to
Mhm.
the engineering side of it, and this data that's constantly growing?
Yeah, I think from the onset, like you are aware that the data you're dealing with right now is not the data you'll be dealing with like a
Yeah.
few months down the line. So some decisions are made from the onset, like the kind of system you want to host your data, the cost, and come up with like a roadmap on how you're going to scale at different levels. And then the good thing is now I think cloud has really evolved. We have like systems like AWS that are able to scale automatically. So from the onset, we decided to invest in such a system
Mhm.
that scales as maybe our data grows. Also, as I said, when I talked about tracking, the business has to be really intentional and conscious of the type of data you need. You don't want to store, if maybe you have a packet that comes with 100 fields, you don't want to store 100 fields. You really decide on what you really need. If it's about 20 fields out of the 100, you store that and you discard the rest. This is for efficiency and also to optimize both your storage system, and also you have to think about the systems that will be fetching that data. So we don't just store any data just for the sake of storing. We
Yeah.
store data that we think it's of critical importance to the business, either from maybe supporting other systems or from an analytics perspective.
What would you say is the toughest technical challenge you've had to solve in your role?
Every day brings new challenges, if I can say that. But I think the part that really made us to scratch our heads was bringing in the map, like creating like a dashboard with a map, and then displaying data and making that data one as simple as possible for non-JS users to consume that data at a glance. And then yeah, I think that's it.
Mm.
We really struggled with that because at that time I was coming with from I had worked with like proprietary system,
Yeah.
JS systems. So you come in with the knowledge and the experience from that angle, but then the use case requires you to rerun or forget what you've learned and then come up with a new solution. So I think we struggled in the first place, but I was lucky that we iterated fast, as I said. So you build a product. Of course, it's not perfect. Maybe it
Mhm.
misses a few things. You show it to stakeholders. They explain what they need. They explain maybe the areas they feel that you're missing on. And then after a few iterations, I think we got it right. And I think that map has served as I said in one of the LinkedIn posts, it has served as a nervous system for our entire business operations. So we have like incidences team consuming data from one map. We have teams like emergency response teams, battery management teams, all consuming data from one map. So I think it was a big challenge to get all that level of information in one page, and then make it as simple as possible for the different teams to consume and extract what they need. So you have like a general data layout, but each team can get the specific information that they want from that map.
That's the one, Amos, you're saying you built it. It's part of like the custom tools you're probably using, like for example, the map box and the APIs that you're directing towards that.
Yeah,
Okay.
initially we had considered maybe other GIS applications, but then when we thought about the ease of now customizing it to capture what the business really needs, I think it became impossible. We could not tweak those systems to fit our use case. And then that's the point we decided to build a custom solution.
Sometimes there's that conversation on like proprietary over open source over building it from scratch and all that. And my opinion has always been it makes sense to go functionality over proprietary versus commercial, because then that becomes a very futile conversation. I like that you're talking about, for you, it's about functionality and the long goal you have, as opposed to, oh, we are going, as opposed to proprietary versus open source, you're looking at really, it's about, for us, it's about what works and what doesn't. How do you see your role evolving, and what do you like about your role? Maybe you can start with, what do you like about your role as a lead software engineer with what you currently do?
Yeah, I think I enjoy the fact that I'm meeting new challenges every day. I think working on different problems that you never thought you would work on. So maybe at one point you are working on, as I said, tracking. The other time you are working on integrating a CRM. The other time you are thinking about building like an AI chatbot for drivers. So every day brings new challenges and opportunities to learn. And about the evolution of the role, I think as we build products, I think we are coming to a realization that you need somebody who understands the business and also the tech, and they act like a product manager. So their role is not mainly even about writing the actual code, but designing uh, systems that actually meet business requirements. And then after they design the system, they're able to sit down with the team and now come up with an actual plan on how to actualize it. So I think my role is every day, maybe through mentoring and guiding from my boss and other management and stakeholders. The role is towards that area, and I think it's an interesting way to evolve. I thought I would code maybe for the next 10 years, but I think from what the management has realized and from also what I've learned, I think you need somebody who understands both tech and business to assume that role of a product manager.
Mhm. You've mentioned something else that also really exciting that has popped up when you're answering that question, building like an AI chatbot for drivers. That also sounds really exciting. Are there emergent tools and technologies you're excited about, and why?
I think right now we're in the era of AI.
Yeah.
So I think for us, it's an exciting roadmap where we are looking for ways to integrate AI into some of our systems, especially the human facing side of the system, where we have AI maybe acting like a customer support. That's an
Yeah.
example. Instead of now having like an agent sitting at a desk waiting for somebody to come, maybe for inquiries, we have like a chatbot that they can get into their WhatsApp and then maybe engage that chatbot. So I think those are some of the really exciting things we are looking forward to build.
For anyone who'd want to venture, almost for example, to take that path of software engineering and development,
Yeah.
what would you say are the must-have skills? And I think you started breaking them down earlier, where you mentioned C sharp, and some of this, and the tech stack you mentioned. But are there skills that you would encourage the audience to sort of look at or look into if they were to get into your space, or if they wanted to get into your space, in software engineering and GIS?
Yeah, I think what I will answer it this way. What I will tell my younger version is to get the basics right from the onset. So this is about GIS analysis. We just don't know the tools, but know the science behind it, the formulas, the mathematical calculations, and all that, and also get the basics or the fundamentals right in terms of software engineering. And this is not even about the programming language. It's about things to do with data structures, system design, things like web services. Because at the end of the day, the decisions you made, the decisions you will make later on, the programming language will come second after you designed the system. That's now when you decide we are going to use this programming language. And I think you make that decision based on the team you have. So if you have like Python developers, automatically you go with Python as your language. But you see, the decisions on the systems were made when you are designing it. So I think get the basics right, and then I think you need resilience in this field, especially for guys who are self-taught. I think I'm a self-taught programmer, So for us, you need a lot of patience and resilience and never giving up. And even if you fail, you keep retrying. And I think it's more of attitude than even the actual skills. Skills can be learned. We say skills can be learned, but you can't teach attitude.
If you had unlimited resources and you
Mhm.
had to come up with a solution within the same space you're doing, right? Tracking, management, analysis, and all that. What direction would you take in an unlimited resources situation? What direction would you take when it comes to the building and the creation, in terms of tooling and the stack? Would it change how you're currently looking at your solution and what you'd select to be part of your stack?
Mm, of course, maybe there are decisions that maybe we made, and maybe we'll have maybe had better alternatives. But I think for if I had unlimited sources, I would invest in building a solutions for battery management. I think right now owning a battery is quite expensive, even for the riders. And I think as the industry grows, it will move towards more of ownership, like an ownership model where somebody owns the bike and the battery, and they go and charge the battery at home. So I think I would invest in systems that are able to support that model through maybe monitoring the where these guys are maybe are charging, maybe the power they are using, maybe the rate of charge and distance, so that we can help them optimize maybe the range and the kilometers. So if I had like resources like Elon Musk, I think that's the direction I would go.
That was Amos Njenga, who's a lead software engineer at Greenwheels. Thank you so much, Amos, for coming today and for sharing with us the world of electric mobility and the tooling, the trade-offs, the nuances we don't think about when it comes to the data, and building a system that prioritizes the users over the stack or over the technology you're going to use. Guys, I'll add the link to Amos's LinkedIn. I'll also add the link to sort of maybe the website if you'd want to get a better perspective of what the company does. And then any resources that Amos will share, I'll also plug them in the episode description. That's it from Amos and myself. Amos, I hope you enjoyed the session.